Hello, Patriots. Grab your popcorn because the swamp is about to get a whole lot murkier. We've got a story so outrageous, so downright unbelievable, it'll make your jaw drop. Two judges, supposed to uphold the law, have been caught red-handed aiding and abetting illegal aliens. Yeah, you heard that right. Judges. Hi, I'm Dr. Ken Henry, and this is Conservative Commentary, where we spread the MAGA message. Before we dive in, I'd like to ask for a favor. If you find value in this video, please give us a like, comment on it, share it, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notifications when we drop new videos. This really helps us grow the channel and get the message out. Now, remember when the Democrats were screaming from the mountaintops, nobody is above the law? They were really big on that, weren't they? Especially when it suited their political agenda, but when their own are caught with their hands in the cookie jar, suddenly it's crickets.
In this country, no one is above the law.
You can't just say, okay, because someone was president or someone is a candidate that you're above the law. Everyone is under the law.
No one is above the law.
Fact is, no one is above the law.
You know, it really saddens me to see what's been going on with these judges who were sworn to uphold the Constitution. They were helping illegal aliens skirt the system. What happened to law and order, huh? What happened to protecting our borders? It seems like those principles only apply when it's convenient for the left, but not when it really matters. These judges, let's not forget, are subject to the law as well. But let's not forget Chuck Schumer's little outburst, his little tweet, or whatever they call it these days, where he seemed to be trying to intimidate a Supreme Court justice. Do you remember that? I want to tell you, Justice Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Justice Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you'll pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. Yeah, that Chuck Schumer. The same guy who's always preaching about civility and respect. Turns out he's just another swamp creature playing by his own rules. You know, Schumer is not just one of a few. This whole situation stinks to high heaven. It's a slap in the face to every law-abiding American citizen. These judges are supposed to be guardians of justice, and we're betraying the very principles they swore to uphold. And the Democrats? Well, they're probably busy trying to spin this mess, trying to sweep it under the rug, as they always do. These swamp creatures are unbelievable. But we won't let them. We won't let them get away with it. We are going to hold them accountable. We are going to expose the corruption, because in America, it is true, nobody is above the law, not even judges, not even politicians. This is what MAGA stands for. This is our country, folks, and we're going to take it back. We're going to drain the swamp, one corrupt politician, one rogue judge at a time. We're going to restore law and order. We're going to put America first. That's right. We're going to put America first. So stay tuned, folks. This story is far from over, and we're going to be here every step of the way exposing the truth, fighting for justice, and making America great again. That's what we do as MAGA patriots. Take a look at this clip from Fox News, and please share your thoughts in the comments.
We begin this show with the arrest of those two judges over their handling of illegal immigrants. Caroline Elliott has the details from Chicago. Hi, Caroline.
Good morning, Griff. Instead of the bench yesterday, we saw two different judges in the defendant's seat, both now facing charges related to obstruction. So we'll start right here in the Midwest with Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan. The criminal complaint says Judge Dugan knew ICE agents were going to arrest an undocumented migrant after his hearing, so she decided to step in. His name is Eduardo Flores Ruiz, and he's an undocumented migrant from Mexico facing battery charges. In part of the complaint, investigators say the judge took him through a door, which leads to a non-public part of the courthouse. Ruiz then made it outside, and ICE agents had to chase him down the street. Now, a week later, federal agents arrested Judge Dugan at the courthouse. And during her first court appearance Friday, her attorney said she, quote, wholeheartedly regrets and protests her arrest, adding it was not made in the interest of public safety. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says this should serve as a reality check.
We could not believe, actually, that a judge really did that. They're deranged is all I can think of. I cannot believe. I think some of these judges think they are beyond and above the law, and they are not.
In New Mexico, former Judge Joel Cano appeared in federal court yesterday. He's charged with tampering with evidence in the investigation of his alleged harboring of an undocumented migrant. Cano resigned last month after federal agents raided his home and took into custody this alleged member of Tren de Aragua and two other Venezuelan men who had been staying on Cano's property. Judge Cano says he saw no signs of gang affiliation, and in a letter to the New Mexico Judicial Standards Commission, he says, quote, I cannot help but feel that the capture of these boys is just another unfortunate addition to the current nationwide effort to apprehend, detain, and deport anyone not born in the U.S. Meantime, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says both of these arrests should go to show no one is above the law. Griff.
Caroline Elliott in Chicago. Caroline, thank you. Here to break down these startling cases, former acting ICE director and former federal prosecutor Jonathan Fahey. Jonathan, you're the perfect person to talk about these cases because you've been on the ICE side of this and you've been on the prosecutor side for more than a decade in the state of Virginia. And there was one tweet in the last 24 hours that got my attention from Senator Amy Klobuchar, who also was a former prosecutor. She says this is not normal. The administration's arrest of a sitting judge in Wisconsin is a drastic move that threatens the rule of law. While we don't have all the details, this is a grave step and undermines our system of checks and balances. And she may be right, Jonathan, in one respect. It's not normal to have sitting judges harbor alleged Tren de Aragua gang members and give them access to guns, or for a Wisconsin judge to hear a domestic violence illegal alien case and then in front of the victim's family basically shield that illegal alien from ICE. Your reaction?
Yeah, Senator Klobuchar's reaction is really unconscionable because these actions of these judges are absolutely outrageous and lawless. This idea that the Democrats are in any way condoning this behavior is shocking to me because you have the New Mexico judge not only harboring a Tren de Aragua member who had firearms in the home, but he was destroying evidence, or at least alleged, by smashing cell phones to prevent the authorities from getting evidence. So it's absolutely outrageous, particularly for a judge and for the Democrats to be saying anything. And then the Wisconsin judge is even worse because she knew he was an illegal alien. And what's important, he was on charges for battery. He had also been deported before, so coming back, he was committing a federal felony. And she shepherds him out the door, and she's only facing 2 obstruction charges. But the other thing she has coming down the pike, I believe, is a federal alien harboring charge because she knew he was an illegal alien, and she was taking steps to shield him from detection. Absolutely outrageous. The fact that anyone would defend these judges is beyond me. I would think this would be 100% of everyone would say this is unacceptable regardless of your views on immigration.
Well, and that's the insight that we want to get from you from a legal perspective. So Dugan's facing unlawful obstruction and concealment. At least that's what the charges are now. Does the administration have a solid case here? I'm reminded, by the way, if you recall back, I believe it was 2018 up in Massachusetts when another judge, Shelley Joseph, was arrested for this very sort of thing. Now, she ended up pleading out, and her situation is before the state Supreme Court to see if she's going to be barred from the bench. But this isn't unprecedented.
Yeah, it's unprecedented, but it actually seems fairly easy to prove, and here's why. Because she had a confrontation with the ICE agents, apparently out in the hall, and then took these actions to shepherd this person out through like a side door or jury door. So it shows she knew this guy was an illegal alien, and she was trying to prevent him from being arrested. So that's classic obstruction, classic alien harboring, and it seems like her justification is she's just allowed to do it because she doesn't like the immigration laws. So in terms of proof, this is probably as strong as you can get. Whether or not ultimately how it gets resolved or what a jury does is always the open question, but quite strong. And then the New Mexico judge of smashing cell phones, that's also classic obstruction. You're destroying evidence. So those things are quite strong. And if people did those, which is important to know, if people did similar actions in other types of cases who were not judges, they get charged as well. So there's no reason these judges should be treated more leniently. There's quite a good argument they should be treated with at least the same standard or a higher standard as everyone else.
So I think it's worth pointing out, Jonathan, we have had a number of Democrats, not just Amy Klobuchar, talking about demanding the rule of law. Take a listen here of some of that recent incidences.
In this country, no one is above the law.
You can't just say, okay, because someone was president or someone is a candidate that you're above the law. Everyone is under the law.
No one is above the law.
Fact is, no one is above the law.
Jonathan, do these judges simply think they're above the law?
It seems like it, and it seems like these Democrats think they're above the law. And remember, they've always acted this way with respect to immigration laws. They've always treated them as like they don't apply. When Biden was in office, when Mayorkas was in charge of the border, they didn't enforce the law because they didn't agree with it. So this is so outrageous, the conduct, the reaction from the Democrats, but it's actually typical because if you look at what they really want to do, which is to have open borders and amnesty, and every action they've taken over the past 4 years indicates exactly that. They're being entirely consistent with their position on that, but inconsistent with their position on the rule of law, because if the rule of law applies to all January 6ers and Donald Trump and all those cases, but then judges that don't want to, violate the law because they hate our immigration policy, you can't have it both ways. They're trying to, but they frankly don't care. They just want nobody to be deported at this point.